Welcome to PlayStation Corner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at the Ascent on the PlayStation 5. It finally hits the system after an exclusivity window with Xbox, but was it worth the wait? Well, that's what I'm here to find out today, so hit subscribe, join us here on PlayStation Corner for reviews and deals weekly, and let's get started. Story under this dystopian world is known as Veles, and it's controlled by a powerful organisation known as the Ascent Group. You all take control of what is known as an ingent, a slave to this company, where you may live long enough to leave the role, but more than likely will die during it. Opening the game though, we learn the Ascent Group has collapsed, and now there is absolute chaos. Get to the bottom of what occurred though and what caused the Ascent Group to basically abandon this world. Also of course stay alive as factions and corporations they battle for control. It's a relatively decently sized cast to meet along the way, and then the side quest which will add more to this story and world. Alongside the core missions as well, you do get the opportunity then to ask further questions. I always like the option of more questions. It means the experience can be as deep or shallow as you please. The story delivery, honestly I found it a little disjointed at times and even convoluted, but the world is so fascinating that it kept me locked in. The Ascent then is what I'd describe as an action RPG, a dungeon crawler, and it combines twin-stick shooting mechanics alongside exploration and a huge amount of other systems. The combat throughout though is solid. You'll move with the left stick, aim with the right and fire with the right trigger. You can also reload manually, and eventually you will gain new abilities here known as augmentation. The early example of augmentation I'd describe as a force push ability, but these are typically devastating to your opponents. My favourite, easily a massive cannon, a beam of light that can do some serious damage for a limited window of time. To some extent though they can be earned, but the quickest option to gain these extra abilities, it's going to be through one of the game's stores where you can spend credits earned in reward for mission completion. You also get modules as well. I would consider these more in line with buffers. Think here a credit multiplayer or maybe healing faster. Now the game never heals you automatically, but there's certain things in the environment that will help you along, and the enemies and crates they will drop health kits as well. Alongside this then, for RPG elements, we get a basic armor setup. This consists of head, torso and legs, and while its visual really doesn't make a difference, it absolutely embraced a cyberpunk tone, which I love. I found myself during this playthrough gas mask on, a leather jacket that resembled Guardians of the Galaxy, and some seriously impressive legwear that, it resembled MC Hammer. On top of this though, then it definitely packs stats as well. You will need to keep on swapping this out to progress through the game. For character customization then, we do get creation as well open in the game. Look, sure, we can choose female or male and customize the way they look, but that's not all of that important. What I'm referring to here is actually leveling them up thanks to skills and what is called your cyber deck. The cyber deck essentially allows you to hack from a distance and open progressively challenging loot crates, and then the skills, well, in battle you'll be leveling up and this will reward you with skill points. These points can be attached to one of 8 fields that covers weapons, defense and health. For me, I focused on delivering critical damage and boosting that health bar as high as possible. You'll start the game with just 1 health bar. That is not going to get you all that far into the game. Enemies that you cross will also display a level above their head. This is going to be a key point of your experience. Basically, you want to make sure you're somewhere near their level, else they will absolutely destroy you. This also kind of doubles as a way for the game to contain you to specific areas of the map, because some you'll walk in at the beginning and your health bar will disappear with 1 hit, causing a game over. Fortunately, the game auto-saves frequently, meaning you're never too far away. The hub world then is kind of when the character puts his gun away. This is intended to push the story forward or maybe do a bit of light shopping. You'll definitely want to do that. There's a number of locations you can visit, but one particular highlight, it's basically a store where you can mod your character, even reset skill points to try another build if you do get stuck. You'll also want to use this as an opportunity to sell the huge amount of loot you came across in battle. The missions, though typically simple enough, follow a map marker or press up on the D-pad, it displays a digital version on the floor ahead of you. Then you'll basically be battling like hundreds of opponents at a time, and then at the end you normally face off against some sort of overwhelming special battle or a boss encounter. I enjoyed nearly all of the boss moments outside of a spider that is an absolute pain. They have a flamethrower and too often they can hit you from off screen. The reason I don't think I enjoyed this boss all that much is because it kind of pushes back against the core experience in the sense, yes it is run and gun, but you can also duck and blind fire, you can dodge roll out the way, but in this moment it rarely works. The flamethrower can pretty much hit you at any point, so it just led to a lot of frustration. This though, the reason I like it so much is it adds strategy to the experience. I just really enjoyed that balance of action and methodical dependent on the enemy type I was facing. The weapon selection then is great. We get a primary weapon, secondary and tactical. You can rotate between your weapons with the triangle button and throw a grenade, that's tactical, with a push of the left stick. You can buy weapons as well or even steal them from your enemies who crossed your path. My favourite setup though, it's a homing bullet-like system and then a good old grenade launcher to make things go boom. The Ascent though, it's idle, it's kind of clear, it's, you know, Diablo, and while I don't think it quite reaches that level, it definitely succeeds in delivering what I would consider a more visceral but at the same time dumbed down experience. In long sittings it can absolutely get repetitive as the combat it rarely evolves and enemy patterns somewhat simple, but there's always a crowd to overwhelm you, and I can't deny in these moments I had a smile on my face. Problems wise, it can be a little bit glitchy. I had a few moments where my character got stuck in the environment, and a few where no matter what I did I couldn't shoot over cover. Also, you'll frequently see enemies fire at you off screen, and there's very little in these moments you can do. That's particularly frustrating when it leads to your death. I also then had 2 hard crashes, though these both linked to 2 deaths, and that was 2 of many deaths, so I wouldn't call it huge or frequent, but I would consider it at the same time worth knowing. Also then, not a huge deal, but initially loading into the game, that, first load screen can be a little bit on the long side, which surprised me. After that though, if you die, it's really fast, it's fine. It's just that one for some reason, so I'm not sure if it's, loading in a whole lot of assets at the same time. To close out gameplay though, look, perhaps my favourite thing of all, even as you explore, let's say, a dungeon, there's innocent NPCs wandering around, and it just shows this, it's a living, breathing world that's falling to pieces. And there was almost a little guilt when they got caught in the crossfire. It reflects the fact that this life, it's not a choice, but a forced scenario. Overall though, look, for gameplay, if you want some twin stick shooting action with tons of gore that throws you into what is an incredible world, this may be the game for you. You can even head back after your first completion for New Game Plus. Finally, the game supports up to 4 players, local or online, so it will be a good option for those that want to maybe dial up that difficulty. It packs currently 3 different difficulty options before you get to New Game Plus. My time personally, as you can probably tell from the footage, it was spent in single player. Graphically then, the Ascent is stunning. Now granted, I do think character models, they are a little bit weak. The modifications though are fantastic, as are the outfit options, but they can look a little bit too rubber-like if anything. Thankfully though, they are backed up with some great animations. The star of the show though, this world, honestly, as I said, story somewhat convoluted, but the world kept me intrigued and I wanted to investigate. There's always something to find and see. It's just packed full of, I guess, evil, and then there's just tons of locations and interiors to explore as well. It's Blade Runner influence, that's clear, and it was absolutely a wise choice. It's really got some interesting design choices as well. The world will actually obscure your view of your main character, and sure, like occasionally I'd get stuck in the background or I couldn't, see an enemy, but I actually really enjoyed these moments. It just felt confident in its design. This though, to me now, it's an iconic world for any dystopian cyberpunk vibe, and games, they need to aspire to look something like this. Audio finally, and like graphics, it's a winner. It plays with synthwave through to darkwave, but it delivered everything I wanted and more. It reflects the scenery as well as the moment-to-moment gameplay. Battle music is a particular highlight as it dials up that BPM. It's something I have listened to offline and no doubt will continue to. Then the audio is kind of wrapped up with full of voice acting for the contained cast, and that is great to see. It's also of a high quality, and we also get weapon effects and environmental effects which really bring this world to life. I did have an audio glitch on 2 occasions where the reload sound, it wouldn't stop playing unfortunately, and that continued for maybe 3 or 4 minutes until I hit some sort of load screen. So the final verdict, and this is my second go around now with the Ascent. I played it on the Xbox Series X at launch on Game Pass. Back then it was quite a bit buggier honestly, but I still had a blast, and this is absolutely now an improved build. That said, it still has issues, some kind of glitchiness with the enemies and our character, a long initial load screen, somewhat a lack of depth at moments, and a couple of hard crashes. That said though, I like a lot about it too. The world's stunning, the gunplay fiscal and entertaining, even if it does get repetitive, a solid selection of weapons, all of the RPG elements, character customization. From here, now I just want to see some sort of follow-up. I want to see what happens if they know the formula works. How can they dial it all up to 11 and make something where that depth is expanded? For me though, a good 7 out of 10, but twin stick shooter fans, I would highly recommend it. Cyberpunk fans as well, you should absolutely be taking a look. Just basically be ready to get your ass kicked. It's not a nice world, and there is no way it's gonna be taking it easy on you. Yes, it has a few bugs, but they're easy to kind of get over when the gameplay, from moment to moment at least, will absolutely keep you intrigued. Will you be adding the Ascent to the library then, or holding onto that cash? With that, hit subscribe, but join us here on PlayStation Corner for reviews and deals weekly, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.